Hi guys, to before going to Java, we should know about some basic concepts of computer. Like the first ever computer was built in 1946, which was very huge in size. Like we should need a room to store the computer in our room in those days. Though the size of the computer was very large, but it was having very less performance. And as the year went, like second generation, third generation went, the computer developed, and now we are using mobile phones, laptops, PC, and all. These are also a computer, right? Computer has mainly four components like GUI screen, microprocessor, RAM, hard disk, through which we are easily using the computer nowadays. The main part of the computer is is nothing but CPU, also known as a microprocessor, which can understand only zeros and ones, means binary language. Zeros and ones means a voltage. It is high and low, also known as zeros and ones. Hence, the microprocessor only understands zeros and ones. It is made up of semiconductor technologies, transistors. For example, Intel. The microprocessor is the main part of the computer because as the user gives the task, the the instructions that are given by the user are performed by the microprocessor. The the computer, everything in the computer that shows is done by the microprocessor. To store the data and to give instruction to the microprocessor, we need an storage device, which is nothing but a hard disk. Nowadays, you may heard that 64 GB RAM, 64 GB hard disk. But in back in the days, we didn't have the RAM. To store the data, we used the hard disk. As the hard disk is made up of a magnetical technology, you may have seen the hard disk, inside it there will be a magnet and a black tape around it. So back in the days there was no RAM. We used the hard disk. As the we use the hard disk, it has a disadvantage that it the execution speed was very slow. So the old computers were slow compared to nowadays because the execution speed of microprocessor was very high, and the micro hard disk was very slow. This made the old computer. This was the main problem in old computers. For example, we will take an example of a running race. We will call five persons and tell them to hold their hands together. As the race starts, the first person is an national level sprint runner, and the last person is he has never ran in his life. This is the first time he's running the sprint. Means the entire team is dependent on the last guy, right? Because he is slow. This was the case in the hard disk. So to match the speed of microprocessor, we now use RAM, which is also a semiconductor technology. Now what happens is all the five members are national level sprint runners, so the execution happens quickly. It is not dependent on any other. As RAM was having an advantage, it was compact, it was faster. It also has a disadvantage that it was very expensive and it was volatile. So why RAM are expensive? Because RAM is made up of a semiconductor technology, which is made up of silicon. Silicon is a rare metal as it is it is expensive. For example, a gold is a rare material, so it is costlier, right? And a copper is very cheaper to as compared to gold, right? What is volatile? Volatile means, for example, if you are storing some data in the RAM, it will be temporarily available because once the power goes off, the data which is present inside the RAM will be permanently deleted. Means we can't store permanently in the RAM, so we need an hard disk to store the data. So both the RAM and the hard disk are used because there is no other way, because we can store in the RAM. So we use both the hard disk and RAM. Now talking about the GUI, back in days we didn't have the GUI screen. We give an input in the basis of commands, which was very difficult to understand for normal peoples. So we should be thankful for Steve Jobs because he invented the first GUI computer, which is known as Macintosh, in 1984. This was the first GUI computer. Now talking about microprocessor, the microprocessor can only understand one machine language. It can only understand zeros and ones. The it was very difficult to a human to code in zeros and ones. So they introduced an assembly language, which was an human understandable format. But how can a microprocessor can understand an assembly level language? Because it can only understand a machine level language, which is zeros and ones. So we need an assembler to convert the assembly level language to a machine level language. The assembler is nothing but just like an translator for the microprocessor, which converts the assembly level language to machine level language. As the time went, now we will use the high level language, which is much more simpler than the assembly level language. We can use symbols and all. Nowadays every programming language is a high level language. It is same in the high level language. Instead of assembler, we will use the compiler to convert high level language to machine level language for the microprocessor. What is an code? Code is an set of instructions that is given to the microprocessor. These are some basics concept that everyone should know before starting the any programming languages.